Good morning, viewers and listeners of Concerned Citizens Media. Thank you again for joining me. I have some news to share with you. Today is January 12, 2021. So, uh, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed on phone call with U.S. President, uh, agreed with so many points, Biden discussed with him, including stopping the air bombardment. But according to different reports, now we have casualties due to this bombardment. So I told you yesterday, Abiy is not trustworthy. Whatever you talk with him, he might say, yes, I will do it, but in practicality, he is he's not that kind of person. So these Prosperity Party officials, including the Prime Minister, they lie, and they are not accounted for that. That's why repeatedly violate the commitment they made with international partners or with the Ethiopians. So that is the situation we see with Prime Minister Abiy, and conflicting, statements, even on the release of those political prisoners. Is it amnesty? Is it the disconnection of the case? Is it the so nothing, like coming from one government structure, and different ideas, uh, multiple confusing statements. So in the same way, he is now cheating the United States president, uh, like he did with the United Nations General uh, Antonio Guterres. So he is lying. He is not, the word of action. He's just saying something and he's doing something, and he is not accountable for that. So let's listen to the United Nations briefing on this situation, and also other casualty reports. I have some numbers, but the UN doesn't have numbers. I have some numbers from Yahoo News on this airstrike, plus other news. Thank you for joining me again. Let's listen what he say.
Let me start off with Ethiopia, and then I have quite a few humanitarian updates for you from around the world. Our humanitarian colleagues are telling us that they're aware of media reports of airstrikes in Tigray's northwest zone that took place yesterday and that led to several civilian casualties, reportedly. However, we have not been able to confirm these reports, nor the number of casualties due to lack of communications in the area. As you saw in yesterday's statement by the Secretary General, he is indeed deeply concerned about the impact of the conflict that continues to have on civilians in Ethiopia. Our colleagues in Mekelle reported anti-aircraft fire this afternoon, but there's been no indication of bombardment of the city at this time. We, along with our humanitarian partners, have reduced movements in the northwest zone of Tigray following the airstrikes that took place Friday night, which reportedly killed more than 50 people and injured many others. We also continue to call on all parties to the conflict to immediately facilitate the free and sustained movement of humanitarian workers and supplies into Tigray, including medical supplies to treat civilians injured in recent attacks. The Secretary General reiterates his call for an immediate cessation of hostilities, including airstrikes, and for all parties to adhere to their obligations under international humanitarian law to facilitate humanitarian access and to ensure the protection of civilians, including humanitarian actors, premises, and sites. Today,
Okay, so that is a short report on the situation in Tigray. The United Nations keep calling for the Ethiopian government to facilitate humanitarian, corridor to reach the victims, but the response is still very limited. And now the air bombardment, the drones are affecting the United Nations operations. So I think Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed is looking for some tough measure from the United Nations or from the US. We don't know what he want to do. Repeated warning, repeated threats from UN, from US is not working. So we don't know what they are waiting for. So we'll see. So let's, okay.
I'm getting started, but
okay, so I will have a couple of videos at the end. Let's see the numbers on this air bombardment. Yahoo has some numbers on this air bombardment. In the deadliest strikes on Monday in the southern Tigray town of Maizabri, 17 people working at a flour mill lost their lives, said one of the humanitarian workers, citing witness accounts. The aid worker said dozens of people were also injured and 16 donkeys killed. A witness told me that the drones came and hovered a bit before dropping bombs. Then people panicked, but after some minutes, everyone heard huge shouting, and they went to the scene to see that women and the donkeys died. In another strike on Tuesday, 2 people were killed and dozens injured in Hiwane, south of Tigray's capital Mekelle, according to an official and a doctor from the city's main hospital. The attacks came after dozens of people were reported killed and many more injured in a drone strike Friday on a camp in northwestern Tigray for people displaced by Ethiopia's brutal 14-month-old conflict. It was not possible to independently verify the reports because access to Tigray is restricted and it remains under a communication blackout. So that's a little bit information on the number of casualties, including 16 donkeys killed by these airstrikes. And I don't know why the Prime Minister ordered, the drone attacks at civilian infrastructure, the mill. Ordinary people just try to get their food, grind and get, So I don't know why he ordered such attack. And before that, he ordered another attack on, refugee camp. So this guy is piling up his crime. This is international crime. And what the international community are waiting, he's a war crime. It's a war crime repeatedly conducted by this prime minister. So, you know, I think they should, the United Nations, US, or European Union, they should consider something. They should consider something. If not, this guy, he will just bombard every civilians in Tigray, also in Oromia region. He already started on Oromia region, so so many casualties in Wallo, special Oromia zone, and also in Oromia other areas. So I think he should be controlled. They should control this guy. They should stop him from killing civilians. And he is not trustworthy. He is not keeping his words. So calling him, talking to him is just, you know, making ourselves foolish. Okay, let's see the other news. Amhara state president says public must be ready to destroy the terrorist group. He's referring TPLF or TDF. This is from Amhara regional president. So they are not slowing down. They are still want to go to Mekelle. They want to destroy, you know, the terrorist group, they say, referring to, I think, TPLF, but from different speech, they are talking about the Tigrayan people. The Amhara regional state president, Dr. Yilikal Kafale, said the people should prepare themselves to destroy the TPLF terrorist group without being disturbed by divisive ideas. According to a statement posted on the ruling Prosperity Party Facebook page during a briefing to members of local media who have been reporting on the destruction in the region due to recent attacks by Tigrayan forces, questions were raised about the current state of affairs in the region. Right now, the public is outraged by the release of members of the terrorist group, he said. They have the right. We believe members of the terrorists are guilty. On January 7, the government discontinued charges against top former TPLF officials who were to be released. Among the former officials, including Sibhat Negga, Mulu Gabre Exaber, Kudusan Negga, Ambassador Abadi Zammu, Abbai Waldu. On January 10, Amhara state officials, comprised of representatives from the justice, security, and the civil service institutions, held discussion on current issues. The discussion was attended by Amhara State President Dr. Yilikal Kafale and senior officials of the state, including zonal administrators, justice, and security sector institutions. Today's statement on the ruling party quoted the president as saying incursions by Tigrayan forces continued and claimed that preparations still continued. Viewed from that point, the recent release of former top TPLF socials should divert from the purpose of destroying the group and is not a cause of distress, the statement said. Although the release of the members of the group is the interest of national unity and peace, has created concern, especially since the people of Amhara are the prime sufferers. The public should not be distracted from the campaign to destroy the terrorist group and ensures its existence. The statement said, quoting the president, Dr. Yilikal claimed that Tigrayan forces were not attacking us alone, but also working with the extremist armed groups, especially the Qamant, Gumuz, and the Shene groups, and the foreign countries such as Egypt and some other countries to prevent Ethiopia from developing and to destroy it. Unless the terrorist group is not eliminated, it will be a big threat to both the people of Amhara as a people and Ethiopia. Because of that, the regional government will work with federal government on ways in which the terrorist group will be eliminated and the reconstruction of destroyed wells is put in place. He cautioned the public to not distracted from its main objective of destroying the terrorist group because of some opinions. So you hear some frustration from the president. People may have different opinion about this operation, and some might say some might not be willing to go with him with this idea of destroying TPLF. They call terrorist group, and he also accusing officially Egypt's participation in this issue. So we didn't hear from the federal government, but the regional government is now accusing Egypt participation in this issue. So the war, the bloodshed, will continue according to the Amhara regional president. So the call of cessation of hostility and the federal government claim is contradictory with the regional government, and the call of the Biden to end this conflict, the call of United Nations or European Union. So there is no ending sight. The Amharas determined to fight, to go to Tigray region and to force the Tigrayans to surrender to Amhara power. We will see. We will follow it and we will report it. Concerned citizens, media prefer the war to be ended, and the Prime Minister and his core supporters to set aside themselves to facilitate the dialogue and the reconciliation for that country. As long as Prosperity Party, as long as Prime Minister is there, you will not have peace in Ethiopia. You will not have true reconciliation and dialogue in that country. No. This is about Johar Mohammed, Baqqala Garba, Hamza Borana, and other recently released Oromo political prisoners calling or releasing a press statement on the situation in Ethiopia and what will be the remedy for that country. And also, Johar Mohammed and Baqqala Garba dressed in a T-shirt depicting the late Hachalu Hundessa, the famous Oromo politician, and also Abduljabar Hussen, the lawyer. Also, these are very, painful days we experienced under Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, and no justice served for these individuals, for Abduljabar Hussen and for Hachalu Hundessa. They just assassinated by undercover operatives, probably led by the Prime Minister and his core supporters. And I call for independent investigation. Also, Johar and Baqqala Garba and these OFECO, Oromo Federalist Congress members, call again on independent investigation. Let's listen. Let's read this one-page press release. Statement from the Oromo Federalist Congress leaders upon their release from wrongful imprisonment. We were released on the 7th of January 2022 after 18 months of wrongful imprisonment. It bears repeating that our arrests and detention in the aftermath of the assassination of the iconic Oromo artist Hachalu Hundessa was motivated by political consideration. It is also not lost on our jailers that we committed no offense and that we were held unlawfully on bogus charges designed to increase the ruling party's electoral fortune. The decision to expunge us from the political space in the run-up to the general elections was made because the ruling party saw us, our movement, and our causes as a threat to its grip on power. A lot has happened in Ethiopia since our forced removal from the political space. The worst possible scenario that we desperately tried to prevent has come to pass. Not only was the hope for a democratic transition totally dashed, the country descended into a regrettable and devastating civil war. From inside our space of confinement, we watched in horror the plights of millions of civilians affected by the destructive war and the resulting humanitarian catastrophe. As our country teetered on the brink of collapse and the social fabric shattered into pieces, all we could do from our prison cells was weep in anguish and pray for better days. We are particularly appalled and saddened by the atrocities and depredation committed against civilians in Oromia, Tigray, Benishangul Gumuz, Afar, and Amhara states. It might be too late to undo most of the damage done to the country and its people over the last 13 months. However, we believe there is still a small window of opportunity to prevent further destruction, restore peace through reconciliation, and rebuild the country. It goes without saying that such an arduous task requires a genuine political will and a good faith engagement from all stakeholders. To that end, so these are some of the major points they mention. To that end, we, one, recognize the government's recent change of tone toward seeking peace and reconciliation over conflict and confrontation that has dominated its discourse over the last 2 years. These encouraging promises should be followed by practical and irreversible actions. Second, call on all parties to seek a peaceful and negotiated resolution to the ongoing wars, particularly in Oromia, Benishangul Gumuz, and Tigray. Until a negotiated, comprehensive ceasefire is achieved, we call on all warring groups to safeguard the safety and the protection of civilians, property, and infrastructure. Point 3, call on all external actors to play a positive role to end the civil war in Ethiopia and facilitate peace and stability in the Horn of Africa region. We implore them to refrain from fueling the conflict by providing political or material support to any of the warring parties, in particular countries in the Red Sea area, and the wider international community should, with one voice, apply pressure on all parties to sit for a negotiated settlement to end the war. Point 4. Call on the nationalities, and the people of Ethiopia to resist the ongoing civilian militarization, hate mongering, and unbridled call to arms. We also call on the media to play its part by refraining from broadcasting partisan narratives and fanning hateful propaganda. Point 5. Continue to mourn the loss of the iconic Oromo artist Hachalu Hundessa. We reiterate our call for a thorough and credible investigation into the circumstances and the motives behind Hachalu's cold-blooded murder. His family and the public at large deserve to know the truth about who planned, ordered, and carried out such a heinous attack on one of the Oromo nation's most treasured and prolific artists of this generation. Marred with political interference and cover-ups, the justice system has failed to provide a believable account of what happened the night that Hachalu was assassinated, let alone prosecute the perpetrators. We therefore call for the establishment of an independent investigative body to uncover the truth. Point 6. Call for the immediate and unconditional release of many of our members and supporters, senior OLF leaders and its members, and thousands of other political prisoners, journalists, activists, including those detained in ethnically targeted raids under the state of emergency who have not been released. Point 7. Continue to believe war is not a solution to Ethiopia's complex political crisis. We hope that the events of the past year have made this truism abundantly clear for the majority of political forces in Ethiopia. Only a serious and genuine negotiation and dialogue among nations and the nationalities of this country can lead to lasting peace and a mutually advantageous coexistence. So these are 7 major points from their press release. Finally, we would like to express our immense gratitude to the entire Oromo nation for their perseverance and tenacity in maintaining our unity and fraternity under condition of overwhelming adversity. To those who stood by us throughout the awful ordeals of the past 18 months, to our families who cared for us with smile and optimism despite being subjected to regular harassment, our visitors who flocked every day to show their solidarity, to friends and supporters who relentlessly campaigned for our release, our lawyers who defended us passionately and bravely in the face of significant threat to their lives and career. We lack words to express our immense gratitude to the team of volunteer doctors who made regular visits to the Kaliti prison, providing us with medical care during our hunger strikes and beyond. We are especially indebted to Landmark Hospital and its staff who saved our lives. We would like to pay a particular tribute to one of our defense attorneys, the late Abduljabar Hussen, a, a selfless defender of truth and justice who paid the ultimate price in the middle of his tireless effort to establish our innocence and secure our freedom. Last but not least, it would be remiss of us not to express our appreciation to the federal police officers and the Kaliti prison guards and administrators who treated us with the utmost respect and dignity during our interactions. We sincerely hope the same is extended to all prisoners across the country. Credit at this standard. So that is the appreciations for whoever stood by them, and also, the concern of this ongoing civil war, the hate mongering, and the solution to end the conflict. And they say, only genuine dialogue, reconciliation is the solution for the country's problem. War is not the solution. Hate is not the solution. Hate mongering, So that's their very short statement, and concerned citizens media appreciate them, to remember all who stood by them, and to remember Hachalu, Hundessa, Abduljabar, Hussen, and to call for independent investigation. Also, like for to magnify the massacre of Karayu Oromos by dressing like Karayus. If you see Johar Mohammed Bakala Garba, just use the same hairstyle, especially Johar, to highlight the victims, the Karayu Oromo victims, the 16 killed in East Shoa Zone by Prosperity Security Forces, by Oromia Federal Police Commissioner order. So, okay, this is from U.S. State Department about the ECOWAS action on Mali. The United States commends the strong action taken by the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, in defense of democracy and stability in Mali, following its extraordinary summit on January 9, 2022. We share ECOWAS' deep disappointment with the transition government of Mali's lack of action or progress toward organizing elections, as it committed to do following the August 2020 coup. We support ECOWAS' decision to impose additional economic and financial sanctions to urge the transition government to keep its pledge to the Malian people to return their country to democracy. We also echo ECOWAS' concern over the likely destabilizing impact of Russian-backed Wagner Group forces in Mali. As noted in the department statement of December 15, 2021, these forces will not bring peace to Mali and will divert resources away from Malian armed forces fight against terrorism. So that's U.S. statement on the ECOWAS sanction on Mali's. This is the final statement for the final reading for today. This is also from U.S. State Department press release on the days of European Parliament President Sassoli. We send our deepest condolences to the people of the European Union on the passing of European Parliament President David Sassoli. President Sassoli will be remembered as a strong supporter of the US-EU partnership, a voice for democracy and human rights globally, and an advocate for a European Union that serves its citizens and is made stronger by its diversity. Our thoughts are with his family and loved ones. So this is U.S. State Department press release on the days of European Union Parliament President David Sassoli. So rest in peace. Thank you for joining me again. I have a couple of one on the days of this David Sassoli and one more video on for the young entrepreneur. These are short videos. Okay, so. There we go. Okay, there we go.
Have you ever thought that you or your kids would start business at the age of 9? Here I am, 11-year-old young baker and entrepreneur, founder of a 2-year-old startup. Yes, this is Vinusha NK. In our education system, they teach us to learn it from the school book, write it in a paper, and get good marks. It continues till our college education. Finally, get a good job, buy a car or house, and settle down in life within 25 years. Do you think you want to end up your life within 25 years by working as an employee in a company for the rest of your life? I had passion for entrepreneurship at young age itself. The qualities that I found in entrepreneurship are focus, creativity, confidence, risk-taking. First, focus. You need to have focus in your business in order to succeed. If you don't have focus, you will not be able to think properly. Second, creativity. As an entrepreneur, you need creative thinking. You need to come up with new ideas to keep your brand known to customers. 3. Confidence. Confidence is nothing but determination to succeed. It's an inner knowledge that you are capable of. Self-confidence is a skill that is needed by everyone. 4. Risk-taking. When you take risks, keep confidence in yourself so that you can succeed. Taking risks doesn't mean going into business blindly and then expecting good results. So keep confidence in yourself. The biggest advantage of getting started with entrepreneurship in young age is the opportunity to learn important skills such as teamwork, networking, problem solving, critical thinking, innovation, and self-discipline. They don't teach this anywhere. Example, a person from Mumbai. He's 18 years old and he wants a startup and he's a founder of it. He got funded by Mr. Ratan Tata. His brand follows a B2C model under which it sources generic drugs directly from the manufacturers and provides it to the retailers, thereby cutting out the middleman's costs completely in the supply chain and providing it to the masses at much lesser cost. Currently, the brand is supplying hypertension and diabetic drugs, but will soon start offering cancer drugs at much lesser cost. If I can do it, you can do it too. So first, let's change by seeing us, others will start changing. The things which will happen if we become an entrepreneur are solving people's problems, providing them jobs and uplifting them, helping the needy. So let's change first. I will have to conclude with one of my favorite stories. Once upon a time, there was a wise man who used to go to beach to do his writing. One day, as he was walking along the shore, he noticed a human figure moving like a dancer. As a result, he walked faster to catch up with this individual. As he got closer, he noticed that human figure was not dancing after all. He was just picking up little things from the shore and throwing them into the ocean. So he went there and asked, "Good morning. May I ask what is that you're doing?" To this, the young man looked up and replied, "Throwing starfish into the ocean." "May I ask then, why are you throwing starfish into the ocean?" asked the somewhat startled writer. To this, the young man commented, "Because the sun is up and the tide is going out. If I don't throw them in, they will die." But the writer commented, "But young man, do you not realize there are miles and miles of beach and there are starfish along every mile? You can't possibly make a difference." To this, the young man replied. He bent down and picked up yet another starfish and threw it into the ocean and said, "It made a difference for that." So what it means is that even though we can't change everything, we can each make a big difference by changing little things that matter. I would like to conclude with one of my favorite quote by Barack Obama. "Change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. We are the ones that we have been waiting for. We are the things that we seek." Barack Obama. Thank you.
Girl, welcome to the club.
Okay, that's
Companies work human
an advice
all day through
for
anything. Project.
another short one.
In November, David Sassoli assured his colleagues in the European Parliament that his doctors were helping him get back to work as soon as possible.
I came down with a bad case of pneumonia.
But he never fully recovered and was taken into hospital again last month. His spokesman confirmed on Tuesday that his 65-year-old died from immune system complications. Sassoli had been president of the European Parliament since 2019. It was a short stint, punctuated by illness, but his role was an important one. After 3 decades as a journalist, the Italian became a European Parliament member in 2009. During his election as president 10 years later, he called on the European Union to swap nationalism for peace and equality.
We want to go towards the future in friendship.
Just a few days before he was admitted to hospital in December, he met the daughter of Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny. The two awards her father the European Parliament Sakharov Prize for Freedom of Thought, sending a clear message to Russia that its arrest of the Kremlin critic was what he called an offense to the international community. He also criticized European countries for not equally sharing the task of hosting Afghan refugees fleeing the Taliban takeover of Afghanistan last year. And he was critical of Europe's far-right politics and its impact on the migrant crisis.
Today is a very sadness day. We are shocked and devastated by the loss of our colleague, our friend, our president, David Sassoli. He was a very pro-European, passionate worker in our institution.
David Sassoli died just 2 weeks away from the end of his term as president of the European Parliament. A vote for his successor begins next week.
Okay, so that's a video on the days of David Sassoli. Yes, is telling us how our life is fragile. This guy was alive in December, just last month, so it was a very short period of time he's gone. So as we are, we think we might live for longer, but we don't know. Life is very fragile. So let me close by saying, you hear the statement I read about the Amhara regional president. That's a very serious, still indicating the intention to continue this war, this bloody war. When the TDF came further, like close to the, Debre Brahan or Shoa Robit, these people were crying, running for their life. Now TDF out from, I can say from all Amhara region. Now they have the intention to go deep into Tigray. So this is the situation now. And they are the victor. They think they are the victor. They can do whatever they want to do. So it's that, it's up to the Tigrayans and a friend of Tigrayans to defend these people, to teach them again, to give them a lesson. And nobody will be under their control anymore. So get ready. You know what they are thinking, and you got to get ready to defend yourself by all means. The other thing is Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed is, as I say, just like his supporters, other prosperity officials, is not trustworthy. Whatever you talk to him, he will say something, but the action is different. As you can see from his conversation with US President, promised to him, agree on the phone conversation to stop the cessation of hostility, airstrike, including the airstrike, and open the corridor for humanitarian aid, to have dialogue and reconciliation, end this war. Now we still continue the air bombardment. That's why I say, don't believe what these people are saying, these prosperity officials. They are liars, really. No credibility at all. They have been lying, and they are giving reward for liars, like Field Marshal Branu Jula. For what? For what? What he did? For lying? For creating death and destruction in that country? Did we fight with the external force? What are the victories? Nothing. These are liars. These are liars. And they are giving each other a reward, special reward. And we have an advisor also in the Prime Minister office, Daniel Kubrat. He's a spoiler, even though he's an Orthodox believer. He's a religious person, but he is not. He is not a believer. A religious person will not say some conflicting, some words, some expressions, tweets, creating trouble, creating conflict in the country. That guy should be removed from that office if we need peace in that country. These kind of guys are creating chaos, catastrophe, bloodshed, hate amongst Ethiopians. So that's all I have for today. I will be back again with other news and update Thank you for joining me. Please subscribe, comment on it, like my video, share with families so we can be the voice or we can share what's going on around the globe. Thank you. Be safe and so long, everyone.